This is Faculty Focus from Fairleigh Dickinson University. This episode features Dr. Bamidele Ojo, Professor of Political Science and International Studies at FDU. Dr. Ojo's expertise includes African politics, global terrorism, human rights, and democratization.
The pre-colonial Africa, where Africa, lived among themselves and constructed their own society and built their own state, interact with one another, trade, engage in wars, also many things like any other nations could have, imagined. And let me tell you at that point in time, because historically, this is relative. Civilization, modern, whatever you might call it, existed in Africa within the context of their own environment. And sometimes we look at it, and I always tell my students, don't look at Africa then as if you're looking at Africa now. Came the Europeans in 1200, 14, 13, 14, 15, 1600. And these, of course, changed the dynamics of relationship within those societies. Not only were the Africans subjected to an infusion of ideas and culture that is contrary to what they have in their respective society, that demands that they abandon in so many aspects, believe in their system. You see, our culture is a vehicle for transferring values from one generation to the other. And it embodies our religion, it embodies our norms, and these, including languages, that the way we dress and the food that we eat. And what was so fascinating that the Europeans came, and these of course changed the entire scenario. So that period, of course, was also characterized by different style of policies introduced by these colonial powers. And so the experience for that 100 to 200 years was a particular experience that is distinct from the pre-colonial period, because during the pre-colonial period, the sovereignty lies within the society. The government was as construed by the people, whereas the colonial period was a situation whereby the sovereignty reside outside Africa, reside in the metropolitan capital, in London, in Paris, in Brussels, in Lisbon. And so that is, of course, a totally different, what I call a personality or a self. So you have the pre-colonial self and the colonial self. After the Second World War, resistance to colonial rule, demand for independence led to the handing over of power to a new, now Western educated, trained Africans. Now, most of the system now introduced in those countries were European style of government, European legal system. Most of them are trained in missionary schools. You have a new system in place now, and that is the post-colonial period. So you have pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial period. And so my thing has always been that to expect Africa to emerge from colonial rule, which is about 50 years old now, to expect them to simultaneously, emerge as that powerful, vibrant, economic, social, entity is just flawed. In the old days, when I go as a typical Nigerian, when I enter a village, and I went to pay homage to the king. And I say, my king, I'm your son. I'm here to pay homage to you. And I offer my king a chicken. And my king said, thank you, my son. I appreciate you. Welcome. My home is your home. And he prays for me, and I'm so happy. And at the end of the day, I say, my king, there's a portion of land at the end of the street that belongs to the town. I would like to set up something, maybe a farm. My king, is it possible for you to let go of that, because the king controls everything? And the king said, oh yes, my son, you can have that portion of land. Have I corrupted the king in making that decision by giving me chicken? Most of the idea in my own mindset as a typical African may not be construed in my mindset as corruption, because I'm just doing my own thing. But then within the modern system, it's corruption.